Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhyev Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasa Adi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll start from where we left. This is the second canto, first chapter, sloka number 33 onwards. We are seeing this universal form of the Lord, or meditation on the Virata Rupa. So that's what is going on. Let's continue this session. Nadyo Nadyo Atatanu Ruhani Mahi Ruha Vishwatanur Nripindra Ananta Virya Swashitam Matarishva Gatirvyaha Karma Guna Pravaha. O king, the rivers are the veins of the gigantic body, the trees are the hairs of his body, and the omnipotent air is his breath. The passing ages are his movements, and his activities are the reactions of the three modes of material nature. So here, all the activities that are happening in this world is compared to the different parts of the body of the Lord. So the rivers are like his veins, and then trees are like his hairs, and omnipotent air, what is the air that is going everywhere, so that is his breath. And then passing of ages, that is passing of the time, are the movements of this gigantic body. And the activities are the reactions of the three modes of material nature. So this basically, everything that is happening in this world is depicted as part of the Virata Rupa form of the Lord, right? So purport: the personality of Godhead is not a dead stone, nor is he inactive, as is poorly thought by some schools. He moves with the progress of time, and therefore he knows all about the past, present, and future, along with his present activities. So this is a very important thing, Trikalatnya. So he knows the past, present, and future. So this is something the Lord knows the past, present, and future. And in fact, when Vyasadeva was in so much of despondency after writing all the Vedic literatures, and when he got Narada at his place, so he accepted him as the spiritual master, and then he inquired from him, "Oh, you are the seer of the three times, no Trikalagya. So you can see the past, present, and future. Kindly tell me the source of my despondency, and how can I get out of this no despondency." So this is something, great sages and rishis, they can also know the past, present, and future, right? So this is a special quality that they have. So here we see that the Supreme Lord, he knows past, present, and future. Abhigya, he's all knowing, along with his present activities, like what is happening in the present, along with that past and future also he knows. There is nothing unknown to him. The conditioned soul are driven by the reactions of the modes of material nature, which are the activities of the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:12, the modes of nature act under his direction only. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Right? So like Daivihi esha, no, mam evaye prapadyante. So like it's acting based on so mam evaye prapadante maya metam tarantite. So this is the Lord says, no, the material nature actually functions. It is of divine origin, and it functions based on his order, right? So in many other places also it is mentioned that how the material nature is directly functioning on the orders of the Supreme Lord, right? And and as such, no natural functions are blind or automatic. So everything is perfectly controlled and everything is perfectly orchestrated. The power behind the activities is the supervision of the Lord, and thus the Lord is never inactive as is wrongly conceived. The Vedas say that the Supreme Lord has nothing to do personally. No, not, Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. As is always the case with the superiors, but everything is done by his direction. It is said, not a blade of grass moves without his sanction. In Brahma Samhita 548, it is said that all the universes and the heads of them, the Brahmas, exist only for the duration of his breathing period. The same is confirmed here. The air on which the universes and the planets within the universes exist is nothing but a bit of the breath of the unchallengeable Virata Purusha. So even by studying the rivers, trees, air, and passing ages, one can conceive of the personality of Godhead without being misled by the formless conception of the Lord. So here, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning about the aspect of many people say the God is no formless, he is nirakar and things like that and all. So that is completely not accepted in the scriptures. And even this universe is described as a personal form of the Lord. And then, we also know the original form of the Lord, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Lord Brahma prays. So in that way, we know the eternal transcendental form of the Lord exists, and also our cultures have always been portraying us everything in this nature as a personality. River, Ganga Mata, Kaveri Mata, like that, and land. We used to call them as mothers, and then like everything, every entity that is there, so mountains or trees, everything, we have a personal kind of a conception. And now in the modern days, what's happening is that one is okay, even if we don't agree upon this Vedic this one saying okay they have a personality, so still the conception, the personal conception actually makes us treat them with value, treat them with honor, and then we treat them nicely, and then the rivers are kept clean, and then rivers were producing so much of nice what is that vegetation all around, and then the cultures were all the massive major cultures were on the banks of great rivers, right? So we see Hastinapur, it is in the where like the rulers of the world they used to rule from. So that is on the bank of Ganges. And you see so many places like this, they were all on the banks of some holy rivers. And always the civilization has been like that. And now since we are taking okay, this is just a natural phenomenon, and it's just some chemicals and things like that and all, so then we start polluting the rivers, we start depleting the natural resources and things like that. So even if we don't understand these entities, these natural entities have a personality behind, still the personal conception of respect and veneration actually makes like so much of what is that natural resources from it saves so much of natural resources from getting depleted. So it is very, very important. Evolved cultures have always attached personality to every entity, and then ultimately they know that God is a person. And this is actually a degraded culture to think that God is nirakar, God doesn't have any form, and God means like no, we will also go and merge in some jyoti and things like that and all. So that's all bogus concept. That's nowhere in the in the scriptures such a thing is there. So God is nirakar kind of thing, right? So but then somehow some school of thought, they try to deduce this kind of meaning from the scriptures, but it is not the fact, right? So in Bhagavad Gita 12.5, it is stated that those who are much inclined to the formless conception of Supreme are more troubled than those who can intelligently conceive of the personal form. So this we had seen many times, that kleshodikattarastesham avyakta shakta chetasam avyakta hi gatur dukkham dehavabdhiravapyate 12.5. Okay. So next 34. Ishasya keshan vidurambuvahan Vashastu sandhyam kuru varya bhumnah avyaktamahur hridayam manascha sachandramah sarva vikara koshah. O best among the Kurus, the clouds which carry water are the hairs on his head, and the terminations of days or nights are his dress. Okay, and the supreme cause of material creation in his is his intelligence. His mind is the moon, the reservoir of all changes. Okay, so the moon is the reservoir of all changes. Know why it is so? Because the moon has so many different functions. The moon gives the taste and flavor in all the vegetables, and then moon also controls the mind of the people. So that's why people who have very, very weak mind, they're called lunatic or mad people. So lunatic, why? No, it has a connection with lunar, this one. So whenever the moon, full moon day or Amavasya and Purnami, so the mad people, they get more enraged. So it's because of the moon's actions. So if people know who have a little stronger mind, so they can actually no. But anyways, the moon actually makes some changes in the this one, like makes some effect on the mind of the people. And then also moon affects the waves in the ocean. Moon affects the waves in the ocean. So during Amavasya and Purnami, we can see that the ocean waves are quite turbulent. So during that time, so moon actually affects a lot of changes in the world, right? So that's why he's called as the reservoir of all changes. And the moon is compared to be the mind of the Supreme Lord. So text 35, Vijnana Shaktim Mahimatmananti Sarvatmanonta Karanam Giritram Ashvas Vatarya Ashvashvatar Pushtra Gajanakhani Sarve Mrigha Pasava Shroni Deshe. The principle of matter, Mahatattva. We had discussed this. Mahatattva means the sum total of all material energy is called as Mahatattva. The principle of matter, Mahatattva, is the consciousness of omnipresent Lord as asserted by the experts. And Rudra Deva is his ego. Rudra Deva means like Lord Shiva is the ego of the, Virata Rupa. So why? Because Lord Shiva is the master of the material creation. Right? So Lord Vishnu directly doesn't come in touch of the material creation. So Lord Shiva, and Mother Parvati are the what is that? The sum total or the masters of the material creation. So that's why it's the Virata Purusha is a body of the Lord. If the whole universe is body of the Lord, and what is the identity of that body? That is Rudra Deva or Lord Shiva. Right? So the horse, mules, camels, and elephants are as snails. The wild animals and all quadruples are situated in the belt zone of the Lord. So this is like various species of life are also placed in different parts of the Virata Purusha. Right? Vayamsi tad vyakaranam vichitram manur manisha manujo nivasah gandharva vidyadhara charanas apsara sarva smritir au ashur, sorry ashuranika virya. Okay, varieties of birds are indications of his masterful artistic artistic sense. Manu, the father of mankind, is the emblem of his standard intelligence, and humanity is his residence. The celestial species of human beings like Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Charanas, and angels all represent his musical rhythm, and the demoniac soldiers are representation of his wonderful prowess. Okay. Purport. The aesthetic sense of the Lord is manifested in the artistic, colorful creation of varieties of birds like the peacock, parrot, and cuckoo. The celestial species of human beings like Gandharvas and Vidyadharas can sing wonderfully and can entice even minds of heavenly demigods. Their musical rhythm represents the musical sense of the Lord. How then can he be impersonal? His musical taste, artistic sense, and standard intelligence, which is never fallible, are different signs of his supreme personality. The Manu Samhita is the standard law book of humanity, and every human being is advised to follow this great book of social knowledge. Human society is the residential quarters of the Lord, for the Lord. This means that the human beings is meant for God realization and association with God. This life is a chance for the conditioned soul to regain his eternal God consciousness and thus fulfill the mission of life. Maharaj Prahlad is the right type of representative of the Lord in the family of Asuras. none of the living beings is away from Lord's gigantic body. Right? Each and every one has a particular duty in relation to the Supreme Body. Disruption in the matter of discharging the specific duty assigned to each and every living being is the cause of disharmony between one living being and another. But when the relation is re-established in relation with the Supreme Lord, there is complete unity between all living beings, even up to the limit of the wild animals and human society. So this is a very important point. Without, no, according to the modern science, it is like, according to the theory of evolution, so different living beings, different species have come about of their evolution on their own accord, and it is just a permutation and combination, just by a random choice. This has appeared, and because of that, they don't feel that one thing is connected to another. The animals are connected to humans, humans are connected to some trees and plants. Everything is in an ecological system that is there. Though they put the ecological system chart and stuffs like that, one side, they profess that theory, but then the other side, they have a complete disconnected and disharmonious kind of interpretation, wherein they just see, okay, whatever is good for you, you just keep doing. So rather than seeing us as a part of the whole body, and then we have a part and role to play, and we should not step out of that role. And every single person and every single entity in this whole creation has some role to play. So long back, I had kind of read an article. So in that, the ecosystem of the whole world was discussed about. And then, surprisingly, that to satisfy and to bring the ecosystem to balance, human beings are not at all necessary, in that system. So basically, human being doesn't have anything to do to complete the cycle of the ecosystem. So it was kind of quite a surprising thing, and that's what the scriptures also say. Human beings are not meant to contribute anything to this world. No, if actually human beings were not there in the planet, everything would be going on very nicely, and there will be no natural disasters, there will be no climatic changes like this, what's happening and things like that. So everybody else in the whole ecosystem follow the ecosystem perfectly. Only the human beings come in and spoil the whole thing. So this goes to say that we are not meant to change the nature. We are not meant to meddle around with nature. We are meant for spiritual understanding. We are meant for some other purpose. So rather than doing that purpose, we start meddling around in this ecosystem, which is not meant for us. So then we will only spoil it, actually. So this is a very nice thing, that all these different like entities that are mentioned, they're mentioned as different bodily parts of the Virata Purusha, and they have a specific function to do as a particular part of the body. They are not all in all, or they are not just unique entities. They have just no connection with anybody else. So we have we have a role in the universal body of the Lord, and we just have to perform that role. And human body is given to those people who have somehow or other come to that level of karmic balance, that they can kind of progress in spiritual life. So that's, such people are given the human form of life, right? So but we should not waste that by doing the material things which even the animals and other things are doing. So we are not meant to do those things, right? Even scientifically, from the ecosystem point of view also, we can see that no, this is, we are not meant to be part of this material things. Okay. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed this living unity in the jungle of Madhya Pradesh, where even the tigers, elephants, and many other ferocious animals perfectly cooperated in glorifying the Supreme Lord. This is the way to peace and amenity all over the world. Peace and amity all over the world. What is this? Amity. Just a minute. Friendly relationship. Okay, amity means friendly relationship. So this Lord Chaitanya, he was going through the forest of Jharkhand forest, and then when he was going through the forest, he is the Supreme Lord himself. So he kind of induced the tigers and deers and elephants and everybody to take part in the Sankirtan. So, and Srila Prabhupada in some other places he writes that Supreme Lord, he could able to make the animals chant the holy name of the Lord. So at least we should try to make the human beings chant the holy names of the Lord. Of course, no, we have degraded, no, many of us have degraded to the level of animals, but then, no, we have to come to the level of human beings, and we have to come to the level of God conscious human beings, right? So, Brahmananam Shatrabhujo Mahatma with with Urur uh, with Ururangri Shrita Krishna Varnaha Nana Bidhabhijya Ganopapanno Dravyatmaka Karma Vithana Yoga. The Virata Purusha's face is the Brahmanas, his arms are the Kshatriyas, his thighs are the Vaishyas, and the Shudras are under the protection of his feet. All the worshipable demigods are also overtaken by him. And it is the duty of everyone to perform sacrifices without, sacrifices with feasible goods to appease the Lord. Purport. Monotheism is practically suggested here. Offering sacrifices to many demigods under different names is mentioned in the Vedic literatures, but the suggestion made in this verse is that all those varieties of demigods are included in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are only part and parcels of the original whole. So like this monotheistic and polytheistic. So this is a kind of a philosophical, this one that is there. Monotheistic means to accept one supreme God, and polytheistic means to have that philosophy which accommodates many different gods, right? So many people, no, even our own people, like no, the so-called Hindus, they also think that, oh, like our system is polytheistic. No, we have many gods. No, that is wrong. No, we don't have many gods. We have many administrative personalities who are called as demigods or devatas, and they have an administrative role. And if we, just like in the government office, if somebody wants to become a particular departmental in charge or a minister of a particular this one, so they can stand for election, and they can, if they get qualified, they can get the post. That is the same way the devatas, the 33 crore devatas, so their posts are no occupiable, and if you perform 100 Ashwamedha Yajna, you can get the king of all these demigods, that is Indra's position. And there are, every demigod has no particular way of getting qualified and being promoted to that stage. So they're not gods. God means one. No, God means unchangeable, right? So God is one. So we have many times Christians and other people, so they make fun of us, saying that, oh, you people have too many gods. So how can there be like too many supreme controllers? So supreme controller means he should be one, right? And the Vedic, our Vedanta sutras say, ekam eva advitiyat. So that is one entity. Like, no, the supreme entity is one entity. They are not two. They are not two or three or no any this one. It's one. So monotheism, we represent monotheism. Hinduism and our Sanatana Dharma is a monotheistic religion. It is not nothing to do with polytheism. And even the other religious people also, like Islam and Christianity and all, so they also have this concept of devatas. They call them as angels, and they call them as the messengers of God, or like they call them as different names are there for different personalities. But we have such a skewed up kind of understanding that any personality who's higher than human being, he has to become God, and then we start worshipping them like God. So that's not the proper understanding, right? So the Sanatana Dharma is a monotheistic religion. Okay. So similarly, the divisions of the orders of human society, namely Brahmanas, the less intelligent class, the Kshatriyas, the administrators, the Vaishyas, the mercantile community, and the Shudras, the laborer class, are all included in the body of the Supreme. As such, sacrifices by every one of them in terms of pleasing the Supreme Lord by feasible goods is recommended. Generally, the sacrifice is offered with clarified butter and grains, but with the progress of time, human society has produced varieties of goods by transferring material supplied by the God's material nature. Human society, therefore, must learn to offer sacrifices not only with clarified butter, but also with other manufactured goods in the propagation of the Lord's glory. And that will bring about the perfection in human society, right? So this is a very important thing. We should not think that only like ghee and few grains have to be offered in the Yajna Kunda, and that is the that is all. So we have to understand that everything that is there in the nature is a property of God, and all transformations. For example, we are using computer or a mobile phone, or we are using so many other technological stuffs. So what are all these things? These are all things which are basically from this earth, water, fire, air, ether, and transformed by the intelligence given by the Lord. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam sha. So knowledge given by the Lord. So ideally, we have used Lord's property and we have used Lord's intelligence to transform and make something. And ideally, the owner of everything that is transformed is the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada sometimes gives this example of an owner of a building, or like a would-be owner of a building. So he supplies the raw materials, he supplies the salaries for the employees, for the mason and all the employees, and then he gets the building built. And the laborers are the ones who have worked very hard. But then the owner, or the person who supplied all the raw materials, he becomes the owner of the building, and not the person who worked hard to build the building, right? So that's the way it is. And if Lord has supplied all the raw materials, if the Lord has supplied the intelligence and the energy in the body to transform these raw materials into different objects, so ideally everything that exists belongs to the Lord. I cannot say I have used my intelligence to do this thing. So that we cannot do in our offices and work environment. If somebody says that I have used my intelligence to make this project, and whatever the customer gives, the money should come to me, the company will say, no, get lost. No, that's not the way we work. So we have got the deal, and you have just worked for us, and we will just give you some salary and be satisfied with that. So though it is your intelligence, we have organized everything, so it belongs to us. So that's the way that the everything that exists is a property of Lord. Even the transformation of things in this world is also property of God. And if we know how to use the property of God in God's service, propagation of Lord's glory, that will bring about the perfection in the human society, right? So that's a very, very important point. You should not think just the raw material should be given to the Lord or something like that. So everything that exists is his property, and everything should be used in the yajna, or the activities meant for pleasing the Lord. Yajna means activities meant for pleasing the Lord. The intelligent class of men, or brahmanas, may give direction for such sacrifices in consultation with the previous acharyas. The administrators may give all facilities to perform such sacrifices. The Vaishya class, or mercantile community, who produce such goods may offer them for sacrifice, and the Shudra class may offer their manual labor for the successful termination of such sacrifice. Thus, by the cooperation of all classes of human beings, the sacrifice recommended in this age, namely the sacrifice of congregational chanting of the holy name of Lord, may be executed for the common welfare of all the people of the world. Right? So this is a very nice thing. So all different classes of people, the Brahmanas can give direction, the Kshatriyas can organize, and the Vaishyas can produce the goods, and Shudras can offer their manual labor. And in this way, by the cooperation of everybody, so nice, wonderful yajnas can be performed. And in this age, like we have many times seen, that the sacrifice that is recommended is congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Kalotat Hari Kirtana. So in that way, like to organize these chanting of the names of the Lord, so we can utilize all these things. Even now, we are trying to kind of make these arrangements for afternoon reading and things like that. So this is a propagation of the glories of the Lord. We are chanting and hearing about the Lord. And how are we doing? We are doing it through these scientific advancements, through these various softwares and various computers and things like that and all. So all this has been used for the satisfaction of the Lord. All the technology is used for glorifying the Lord. So this is the perfection of using things in the service of the Lord, right? So text 38, Yanashva Ishvara Vigrahasya Yasannivesha Katitho Mayate Sandaryate Sminva Pushistit Stavishte Manasva Buddhyana Yatosti Kinchit. I have thus explained to you the gross material gigantic conception of the personality of Godhead. One who seriously desires liberation concentrates his mind on this form of the Lord, because there is nothing more than this in the material world. Right? So all that is there in the material world is conceived of as parts of the Supreme Lord, and in that way, like everything is present in this Virata Rupa of the Lord. And by focusing on how everything is connected to the Lord, we can get liberation. So that's the main point here. So by bringing in God into the picture, or bringing in God, like God is a connecting source for everything. So when we bring in that conception and see how everything is connected to the Supreme Lord, or at least the Virata Purusha of the Lord, so then that paves the path for liberation. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:10, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has verily explained that the material nature is only an order carrier agent of His. She is one of the different potencies of the Lord, and she acts under His direction only. As the a supreme transcendental Lord, he simply casts a glance over the material principle, and thus the agitation of matter begins, and the resultant action are manifested one after another by six kinds of gradual differentiations. All material creation is moving in that way, and thus it appears and disappears in due course. So here it's mentioned about the aspect of the material nature being an energy of the Lord, no prakrite kriyamanani, so that is also there, and then daivi esha gunamayi, and then like this various places Krishna mentions that this everything that is conducted in this world is conducted by the material nature, and that is but one of his energies, right? And then the material nature exactly functions as it has been ordered by the Supreme Lord. And here it's mentioned about the Lord's glancing is cast over the material nature. So it is mentioned the source of the creation is the Lord's glance over the material nature, and Lord impregnates all the living entities in the material nature, and the material nature gives different bodies to all the living entities, right? So that's the way of this one. So the Purusha, or the male, impregnates the living entities, and then the female gives the bodies, or like constructs the bodies for the living entities. In the same way, the Supreme Lord, the Adi Purusha, the Supreme Lord, he impregnates the living entities into the material nature, and the material nature produces all these different species of life. So then somebody may ask, okay, like sometime back you told that Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati are the mother and father of the whole material creation. Yes, Lord's glance over the material nature is Mother Parvati, and then the Lord's glance is Lord Shiva. Lord Vishnu's glance over the material nature, that is Lord Shiva. So this is Lord never directly comes in touch with the material nature. It's only Lord's transformation. Kshiram yatha dadivkara vishesha yoha. So just like Lord Vishnu is like milk, and Lord Shiva is like the curd. So Lord Vishnu transforms himself in the form of Lord Shiva to come in contact with the material nature, right? And Lakshmi ji transforms to be the Mother Parvati, or the sum total of material energy. So like Mother Parvati is the sum total of material energy, and she is the like all powerful, all pervading supreme power in the material world, right? So she is just nothing but the transformation of Lakshmi ji, and she has been working under the direction of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, right? So this is the philosophical understanding of this thing. And here it's mentioned, so after the living entities have been impregnated and the matter has been agitated by the impregnation of the Supreme Lord's glance, so he simply casts a glance over the material principle. So after the material nature is agitated in that way, so then the six kinds of transformation starts happening. So what are the six kinds of transformations? We have seen that also many times: birth, growth, reproduction, maintenance, dwindling, and death. So everything goes through these transformations. So every single entity that exists, they go through these transformations. Like they keep going through these different phases of existence, right? So less intelligent persons with a poor fund of knowledge cannot accommodate the thought of this inconceivable potency of Lord Sri Krishna, by which he appears just like a human. His appearance in the material world as one of us is also his causeless mercy upon the fallen souls. He is transcendental to the material conceptions, but by his unbounded mercy upon his pure devotees, he comes down and manifests himself as the personality of Godhead. Materialistic philosophers and scientists are too much engrossed with the atomic energy and gigantic situation of the material form, and they offer respects more seriously to the external phenomenal feature of the material manifestation than to the nominal principle of spiritual existence. So this nominal and phenomenal, so these two, this ones are there. So this is phenomenal means it's a phenomena. Phenomena is something like the effect of a main entity, right? So nominal means the main cause, and phenomenal means the effect of it. So like we can see that, people in this world, they are able to see only the externals, and they glorify only the externals, and they never happen to ask what is the brain behind all these things. How is it all these things are happening, right? So one of the sessions we had kind of discussed about this example which Srila Prabhupada gives, that a small child, when he sees a car is moving wonderfully, he says, oh, like, no, this car is so nice. But then a grown up person, he will know that no, the car is not so wonderful, but then the person who's driving the car is wonderful, right? So that's something very important. When we become more spiritually advanced, we will not just see the externals of this world and glorify them. We will start to inquire who's the person behind. How is it all happening? How is it all so wonderfully happening, right? So for example, like for us, we need sun every single day. Like without the sun, like we have vitamin deficiency and things like that. So this is a function that has to be done. And we see the sun comes into the scene, and it comes so artistically. So many poets and so many people have glorified the early morning sun, and then the setting of the sun and things like that and all. And then moon though, we have so many poems on the moon. So but then they are functional entities, they are doing some function in this world, but everything is done so artistically, everything is done so wonderfully, right? So it is like mastery of things. It is not some some random haphazard thing that is happening. Everything that's happening in this world is so perfect, artistic, and it's done like a master. It's not just some ordinary thing that is happening here, right? So that's the greatest, this one, the Lord's wonder, or the Lord's wonderful amazing activities are, we can see that throughout the creation in so many different ways. Just like we just saw about the sun and moon, we can, if we want, we can go on speaking about the different vibhuti, like which Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's all very wonderful and artistic, and those so many wonderful things are there. So we may appreciate an artist who's just making a nice painting, but then we will say like there is no God behind the whole creation. The flowers are so beautiful just like that, and it's just a permutation and combination. There is no artist behind it. No, the whole world is going on. The supply of water, the supply of air, and one of the things, the supply of water, is like when we want to supply water, we have to dig huge pits, and we have to lay so many big tunnels of pipes and things like that, or the tankers have to go here and there and things like that. But then when the Lord wants to do it, he will just simply evaporate the water. He makes nice clouds, and the clouds graciously they come in. And then about this also there is so many poems and kavita and things like that. So it is, what is this? It's just a transportation of water. and the transportation of water is so artistic and so like wonderfully done that people just glorify it in different ways, right? So the Lord's way of doing things is so amazing, so wonderful. And still, even after doing so much of chamatkar, so much of wonderful things, people say that there is no God. It's like so that's the less intelligent, that's the ignorance. Or the material world is why we call the material world as place of darkness, tamasoma, jyotirgama, and things like that. So because that which is evident, that which any sane man can just see, this world, nobody can see it. Everybody says that, where is God? What's the need of accepting God? So that's the unfortunate kind of a situation, right? So that's the thing, that we are all in ignorance or in darkness. So that's the meaning of darkness. Darkness means that which is possible to see, I'm not able to see. That means I'm in darkness. When I get the light of Krishna consciousness, light of God consciousness, then I will be able to see things clearly in this world, right? Otherwise, it is not possible for me to see things clearly in this world. The transcendental form of the Lord, okay, we'll continue the purport. The transcendental form of the Lord is beyond the jurisdiction of such materialistic activities, and it is very difficult to conceive that the Lord can be simultaneously localized and all pervasive, because the materialistic philosophers and scientists think of everything in terms of their own experience. Because they are unable to accept the personal feature of the Lord is kind enough to demonstrate the Virata feature of the transcendental form of, and here in Srila Sukadeva Goswami has vividly described this form of the Lord. He concludes that there is nothing beyond the gigantic feature of the Lord. So that means everything that is present in this material creation is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, right? So that's the meaning of it. And none of the materialistic thoughtful men can go beyond this conception of the gigantic form. So by materialistic thoughtful men, by materialistic speculation, we can never step outside the material realm, and spiritual things cannot be got through permutation and combination. Any amount of mental speculation, any amount of permutation and combination, I can only think of different forms of material things. I can never come to spiritual understanding, because spiritual understanding is beyond the jurisdiction of anybody to understand by permutation and combination. It has to be awarded by the Lord or his devotees. Otherwise, it is not possible by by some experiments and research and things like that. Someday people will come to understand the glories of the Lord. No, it's not possible. So that's what is mentioned. None of the materialistic thoughtful men can go beyond the conception of the gigantic form. So they can only think of matter. They cannot think of spirit. The minds of the materialistic men are flickering and constantly changing from one aspect to another. Therefore, one is advised to think of the Lord by thinking of any part of the gigantic body, and by one's intelligence only can one think of him in any manifestation of the material world: the forest, hills, ocean, the man, the animals, demigods, the birds, the beast, or anything else. No, all these things are mentioned just before in the previous slokas. And we see that this kind of a conception, no, is not possible ordinarily for people, if only that has been taught by exalted souls like Shukadev Goswami and some devotees teach us in this way, that we have to see everything that is present in this world. No, we have to see them as part and parcel of the gigantic form of the Virata Purusha. It is not possible for us to come to this point by any research or permutation of combination and things like that. Okay, so we'll continue the purport. Each and every item of the material manifestation entails a part of the body of gigantic form, and thus the flickering mind can be fixed in the Lord only, and nothing else. This process of concentrating on the different bodily parts of the Lord will gradually diminish the demoniac challenge of godlessness and bring about gradual development of devotional service to the Lord. Everything begins, everything being a part and parcel of the complete whole. The neophyte student will gradually realize the hymns of Ishopanishad, which states that the Supreme Lord is everywhere, and thus he will learn the art of not committing any offense to the body of the Lord. Oh, this is also amazing thing. So we have to understand, when we understand that everything is part and parcel of the Lord, we will not abuse anything. No, we will not abuse anything. So if for example, if we want a particular fruit from the tree, we will just take that much, understanding that this is part of the Lord, and then something is set aside for me, right? Ishavasham idam sarvam yatkincham jagatyam jagat thena taktena bunjita magrada kashyasviddanam. So that means there is everything that exists, animate and inanimate, is property of Lord, and there is something that is set aside for me as quota, and that is described in the scriptures. Only that much I should take, and I should not just exploit them, right? So now we have an organized way of deforestation, and we make so many different kind of things based on that. And sometimes we just see that, okay, the material nature is there for me to exploit. Okay, these living entities like cows are there, the goats are there, the chicken is there, and let's kill and have. No, it's just a matter of fulfilling my needs. So I'll just kill and have something. No, this is the problem. We don't understand that everything that exists is part and parcel of the Lord, and we have to consult the Lord. What is my quota, and how can I utilize this world? I cannot step out of my limits, and if I step out of my limits, then everything will flare up, everything will go for toss, right? So this is we should not commit offense to the body of the Lord. If I overly utilize any material things, if I abuse the material nature, then it is like committing the offense to the body of the Lord, right? So, okay. So this sense of God-mindedness will diminish one's pride in challenging the existence of God. So by seeing everything as part and parcel of the Lord, and by respecting everything, so we will develop. It will diminish our pride, and it'll reduce our challenging the existence of God. Thus, one can learn to show respect to everything, from all things, for all things are parts and parcels of the Supreme Body. Okay. So text 39. Sa sarvadhi vritti anubhuta sarva atma yata swapna jane kshithaikha tam satyamananda nidam bhajeta nanyatra sajjet yata atma patah. One should concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who alone distributes himself in so many manifestations, just as ordinary persons create thousands of manifestations in dreams. One must concentrate the mind on him, the only all blissful absolute truth. Otherwise, one will be misled and will cause his own degradation. Like before continuing this purport, somebody may ask this question, that anyway we are focused on material things only, so we are focused on something material, so then like that means I'm focusing on some part of the Lord, so then why am I not getting liberation? I should be bound by the material nature. So that is also a very interesting question. So the problem is not seeing or concentrating on certain objects. The problem is not able to find its origin or its connection with the Supreme Lord. So that's the problem, right? Okay. Please don't use these annotations and things like that. It disturbs. Okay. So, okay. So this, we may concentrate on material things, but then that is not the like point in contention here. The point that is made here is to find that object, find any object in this world and see its connection to the Lord. Then you will get liberation. You will just find any object and see its connection to my exploitation of that object, then I'm not going to get liberation, right? So that's the main point here. Okay, purport. In this verse, the process of devotional service is indicated by the great Goswami Srila Sukadeva. He tries to impress upon us that instead of diverting our attention to several branches of self-realization, we should concentrate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the supreme object of realization, worship, and devotion. Right? So this is an amazing thing. He tries to impress upon that instead of diverting our attention to several branches of self-realization, we should concentrate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the supreme object of realization, worship, and devotion. So that's the main thing in all the forms of worship, karma yoga, jnana yoga, whatever forms of yoga. The ultimate end is that we should somehow or other remember the Supreme Lord, Ante Narayana Smriti. So second canto, this chapter actually started off with that. This one, in the initial few slokas, we saw that the goal of human life is Ante Narayana Smriti. When we quit our body, if we can remember the Supreme Lord, that's the perfection of life, right? So self-realization is, as it were, offering a flight for eternal life against the material struggle for existence. And therefore, by the illusory grace of the external energy, the yogi or the devotee is faced with many allurements which can entangle a great fighter against the bondage of material existence. So that means the material nature can put forward so many allurements, to stay here. Especially, it is mentioned that material nature has two-pronged energies. One is Avarnatmika Shakti and then Prakshapatmika Shakti. So Avarnatmika Shakti means those people who don't know anything about the self-realization, they are safely sleeping on the lap of the Maya. And then, they are not like, that is Avarna, like, it's covering potency. No, Avarnatmika Shakti. So most of the people in the world are perfectly under the control of Avarnatmika Shakti, of the illusory energy or Maya. And then those people who want to advance in the spiritual life, so Maya will work overtime for them. She will work in the way of Prakshapatmika. Prakshapatmika means pulling down Shakti of the material nature of Maya. So she will offer many different kinds of allurements in the path. And if a person gets diverted by all those things, then he will miss the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. He will not be able to get that point. And why it is done? Just to increase the just to make sure that the this is the quality check. No, this is the QC that is done here. And if a person can tolerate all the allurements of the material nature and still says, no, I just want to attain the lotus feet of the Lord, so then he's a successful yogi. Then he actually gets back to the spiritual world, right? So a yogi can attain miraculous successes in material achievements such as anima and lagima, by which one can become more minute than the minutest or lighter than the lightest, or in ordinary sense, one may achieve material benedictions in the shape of wealth and women. So, but one is warned against such allurements because entanglement again is such illusory. Again, in such illusory pleasure means degradation of the self and further imprisonment in the material world. So by this warning, one should follow one's vigilant intelligence only, right? So we have to be very careful. We have to read scriptures and we have to be guided by the scriptures, and we should not just get sidetracked. We have, after a lot of permutation and combination, after a long evolution in the cycle of birth and death in many different species of life, somehow or other we have got this human form of life, and we should not waste this human form of life in doing the same animalistic activities. No, we should try to do something for our liberation, right? So that's the prime benediction. That's the prime job of a person who has taken the human form of life, right? The Supreme Lord is one, and his expansions are various. He is therefore the supreme super soul of everything. When a man sees anything, he must know that his seeing is secondary and the Lord's seeing is primary. Oh, this is really very amazing point. So it's when I'm seeing a particular object, I am able to get a perception that this object exists here, and then I can touch and feel and things like that. First of all, the perception, when I'm seeing a scene and then I'm seeing some things that are existing, how am I able to see? Because the Lord is able to see, and then he is giving me the perception that you are seeing this particular object and this object is like this. So without the Lord seeing, I cannot see. No, so that is why it is mentioned the Lord seeing is primary and my seeing is secondary, right? So it's a very deep philosophical point. No, like the Lord is a primary seer, the Lord is a primary witness, the Lord is the primary in everything. No, it's whatever I am doing, I'm just secondarily I'm doing. So even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentioned that all these soldiers, they have already been killed by me. So now you just do the external aspects, and then you take credit. So nimitta matra bhava savyashakshi, he says that all these people are already killed and none of them are going back home. No, I have already settled everything. So now you just simply fight the battle, they will die, and then you take the credit. That's what the Lord says. So the Lord's action is primary. Without he acting, without he seeing, we cannot see and act in this world. That's not possible. Right? That is how we are completely dependent on the Lord, right? So one cannot see anything without the Lord's having first seen it. That is the instruction of the Vedas and the Upanishads. So whatever we see or do, the super soul of all acts of seeing or doing is the Lord. This theory is this theory of simultaneous oneness and difference between the individual soul and the super soul is propounded by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the philosophy of Achinta Beda Beda Tattva. The Virata Rupa or gigantic feature of the Supreme Lord includes everything materially manifested, and therefore the Virata or gigantic feature of the Lord is the super soul of all living entities and non-moving entities. Okay, so now this concept of Achinta Beda Beda Tattva, that's a very important thing. So our philosophy that has been established by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called Achinta Beda Beda. So that means simultaneous oneness and difference. So here one aspect of this simultaneous oneness and difference is brought about. That is the Lord is doing everything. Lord is seeing everything. So then why am I put into karma? No, why do I have to go through the karma? So that's we have kind of explained in the Gita course sessions that prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasaha. So that means the material nature is executing everything. And here it is mentioned the Lord is executing everything. And then the karma, when we come to the topic of karma, we say, oh, like, no, you did something, that's why you are getting the results. So finally, who is the doer? So that's something that we explained in the Gita course, that I am the doer in terms of I desired this particular thing to happen. And Lord is the doer because he sanctions that particular action. And material nature is the doer because the material nature is the final executing agent, right? So sometimes, how do we understand this? Um, like, okay, so you apply for a telephone connection, right? So from Bescom or like, say, no, Bescom or like whatever the authority may be. So you apply for a telephone connection, right? And then there is a sanctioning authority over there. He sanctions, and then a lineman comes and puts the telephone over there in the place. So now who's the doer? The lineman is the one who put the telephone in the place. So he is the doer. No, he could have not done without the sanction of the sanctioning authority. Then he's the doer. So no, he did sanction only because you desired. So then you are the doer, right? So it's like all these three entities, all this various. I'm just simplifying it. There are many factors that are involved. At least in Bhagavad Gita, it talks about the five factors of action. That is. Adhishtanam tata karta karanam cha pratak budam vividamsta pratak cheshta daivam chaivarta panchamam. So it talks about five factors. There are multiple factors are involved, and finally, like I'm getting karma because I desired, and Lord, without Lord's sanction nothing can happen, and without the execution of material nature nothing can happen. And in that way, like everything is not very nicely placed in the whole this one. It's a kind of cooperative organization of a huge machinery, right? So that's what is happening here. And okay, let's continue the purport. But the Virata Rupa is also the manifestation of Narayana or Vishnu. And going further on and on, one will eventually see Lord Krishna is the ultimate super soul of everything that be. The conclusion is that one should unhesitatingly become a worshipper of Lord Krishna, or for that matter, his plenary expansion Narayana, and none else. In the Vedic hymns, it is clearly said, the first of all, Narayana cast a glance over the matter, and thus there was creation. Before creation, there was neither Brahma nor Shiva, and what to speak of others. Sripad Sankaracharya has definitely accepted this, that Narayana is beyond the material creation, and Narayana Paro Vyaktat, and that all others are within the material creation. The whole material creation, therefore, is one with and different from Narayana simultaneously, and this supports the Achinta Beda Beda Tattva philosophy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being an emanation from the glancing potency of Narayana, the whole material creation is non-different from him, but because it is the effect of his external energy, Bahiranga Maya, and is aloof from internal potency, Atma Maya, the whole material creation is different from him at the same time, different from him at the same time. So it is Bahiranga Shakti, or it is a separated energy. The material nature is a separated energy of the Lord. So going forward, we will see this Virata Rupa is just an imaginary conception of the Supreme Lord, and then it doesn't, such a conception doesn't exist. But then it helps us to understand that everything is connected to the Supreme Lord. So that's the primary conception of this Virata Rupa. And this is called Bahiranga Maya or Bahiranga Shakti. No, Shakti or Maya, these two are can be interchangeably used. So it's 3 o'clock. I think we will just finish this purport, and then we will stop there. And then Atma Maya means one's own Shakti or personal energy. So the Lord's personal energy is spiritual energy, and then Bahiranga Shakti or Bahiranga Maya is the material energy, which is external in nature, which is separated energy of the Lord, right? So the whole material creation is different from him at the same time. So we are seeing in the Virata Rupa, everything is present on the body of the Lord, and at the same time, we understand that this material nature is different from the Lord. Lord is beyond the material creation. So both the conceptions are accommodated by this Achinta Beda Beda philosophy. The example given in this verse very nicely is that of the dreaming man. The dreaming man creates many things in his dream, and thus he himself becomes the entangled seer of the dream and is also affected by the consequences. This material creation is also exactly a dreamlike condition creation of the Lord, but he, being the transcendental super soul, is neither entangled nor affected by the reactions of such a dreamlike creation. So this whole material world is like the dreamlike creation of the Lord. So he is always in the transcendental position, but essentially he is everything and nothing is apart from him. As a part of him, one should therefore concentrate on him only without deviation. Otherwise, one is sure to be overcome by the potencies of the material creation, one after another. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita as follows: Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam Kalpakshaya Punasthani Kalpado Vishrujami Aham. O son of Kunti, at the end of millennium, every material manifestation enters into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I again create. The human life, however, is an opportunity to get out of this repetition of creation and annihilation. So, in our micro level, we go through birth and death, and then cycle of birth and death. And in a macro level, the whole universe itself goes through this birth and death cycle, creation and annihilation, right? Shrishti and pralaya, no? So it is a means whereby one may escape the Lord's external potency and enter into his internal potency. So, like when we concentrate on the Supreme Lord, when we develop God consciousness, so we escape the external potency and we get into the Atma Maya. No, from the Bahiranga Maya, we get into the Atma Maya. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the second canto, first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The First Step in God Realization. Okay, so we finished first chapter of second canto today. So tomorrow we will see the second chapter, the Lord in the Heart. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.